There are two quotes that I love to quote since they get to the heart of the matter for what is needed to save our republic. Cicero, the great Roman senator and orator, said, "To be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child." George Orwell, author of the international bestseller 1984, said this, "The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history." I would like to add an idea to these quotes. We should always look at people's actions rather than their words. If their actions belie their words, then they cannot be trusted. What I'm going to discuss today is going to be very controversial. I want to state right up front that we are a society made up of concerned Americans from many races, religious beliefs, and national origins. With so much focus being placed on the color of one's skin, people have become very ignorant as to what happened during the so-called civil rights movement. For those of you that are new to the society, during the 60s and 70s, the John Birch Society had many black members who toured the country exposing just what was going on. Unfortunately, much of this history has been lost over the years, along with the exposing of certain individuals. Let's look at two people. The first one is Hunter Pitts Odell. He was a district leader for the Communist Party in New Orleans and served on the Communist Party's Central Committee in 1961. He used such aliases as John Vesey and Ben Jones. The other is Bayard Rustin, who started out in the Young Communist League and remained in that circle for at least into 1957. He was a convicted sex offender, having been caught in an automobile with two other men in a homosexual act on the streets of Pasadena, California, for which he served 60 days in jail. He went on to become the co-chairman of the Socialist Party of America after organizing the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his "I Had a Dream" speech. Both of these men worked for King. Odell was hired as King's personal secretary in 1960, but due to his notoriety of being a communist leader, King reluctantly let him go, since it was damaging to King's image. Rustin and King together organized the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Later on, the homosexual leader of the Socialist Party, Rustin, was given the Medal of Freedom by President Obama in 2013. Then Governor Newsom of California pardoned him for his sexual conviction in 2020. With a track record of Rustin, how is it that he can be given such honors? Let me take you back to how the society exposed individuals like Rustin, Odell, or even King during the 60s and 70s. One of the tactics used by the society was to learn of King's itinerary and then schedule one of our speakers, Julia Brown, to appear ahead of him in those towns where King was to appear. Julia Brown was an undercover agent for the FBI, and she related what she had learned while serving in that task. While she could never definitely state that King was a communist, she attended communist schools and meetings where she was told that only Communist Party members were in attendance, and King was there. She also testified that the party members were always told to look to King for leadership in the civil rights movement. King's final tour was canceled due to the scheduling of Julia Brown in front of him. Her speeches had the effect of lowering King's value to the movement at the time. Many of King's words became famous, but few look at the tactics he and his followers employed back then. Rarely will you ever hear any mention of how they lured the white community to react into violence. It was then caught on camera and made to appear as if it was instigated by the white community. I have in my possession, and I've also seen many photographs of before and after violence that was instigated by communist cadres to cause a reaction by the police. They were then printed in newspapers from coast to coast, making it look as if the police had committed police brutality. Examples like this were used by our John Birch Society black speakers to demonstrate just exactly what was going on. At the same time, white communities would do the same to innocent blacks to create a gulf between the races. We had speakers and publications which pointed out that the militant organizations, such as the KKK, were actually led by communists in some areas such as Mississippi. You can't have a good race war unless you control both sides. The reason I bring these things up is that I get tired of seeing conservatives quoting Martin Luther King and other men and women who served the communist cause. Their words may resonate, but their actions and affiliations left much to be desired. The reason all of this was being done in the day, just as today, was and is to create social chaos, to the point where people demand that government do something. This always leads to more government control over society and our lives. We cannot allow ourselves to think in terms of race, but as Americans. We need to understand the wiles of the Marxists to change society so that we will be successful against them. In the Communist Manifesto, Marx called for a social revolution. That is what we see happening today. All of what the Biden administration is doing is changing America into an arm of the United Nations. This is likewise the intent of the racial problems fomented by the Marxists, and has always been the intent from the beginning. Read the book, Benedict Biden, and get others to do so as well. Only by getting people understanding what is happening and understanding our history will we win this fight. Now, don't go around spouting that King was a commie. Be gentle and inform them as much as you can until they're ready to hear the truth of our history. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and like and share this video.